The air inside Carter Tech's open-plan office was always too cold. Artificial. Much like the people in charge. Aaron Wells sat quietly at his desk, staring at the final code lines of the AI security protocol he had spent 6 months perfecting. His fingers hovered above the keyboard, trembling, not from fatigue, but anticipation. This was his breakthrough. His pitch was ready. His dream was just one meeting away. At 27, Aaron was known as the quiet genius of the data team. He rarely spoke unless necessary, but when he did, it was always precise, always valuable. Today was the first time he would present an idea directly to the executive board. His manager, Mr. Carter, a man with more cufflinks than compassion, had finally agreed to bring Aaron's innovation forward. "You'll get your chance," Carter had said that morning, smirking. "But don't expect the board to go easy on you." Aaron had smiled politely. What Carter didn't know was that Aaron had stayed up the last 4 nights running simulations. His prototype was more than ready. It was revolutionary. The boardroom was made of glass, symbolic of Carter Tech's supposed transparency. Aaron stood at the front, laptop connected, slides loaded. Carter leaned back in his chair, arms folded, a predator watching his prey. Aaron presented with calm conviction. He explained how his AI protocol could detect cyber threats in real time, and even predict future breaches based on behavioral patterns. The room was silent. Then came a slow clap, from the CEO herself. "Impressive work," she said. "Truly ahead of the curve." Carter's smile was stiff. "Yes," he added. "Exactly why I decided to push this idea forward. Took me months to shape it with the team." Aaron blinked. The words landed like a slap. Shape it? He had written every line of code. Carter hadn't contributed a single idea. But no one questioned it. The meeting ended with handshakes, none of them directed at Aaron. That evening, as Aaron walked home past the rain-soaked streets of Birmingham, he felt hollow. It wasn't just the theft of his work, it was the theft of his voice. Carter had always talked over him, but this time, he'd taken everything. Aaron stood at the edge of a pedestrian crossing, raindrops mixing with the tears he didn't realize had fallen. He made a vow. One day, Carter would sit across from him again. And that day, everything would be different. The days after the boardroom betrayal felt like walking through fog. Aaron continued to show up at work, typing away, answering emails, attending meetings, but he felt like a ghost haunting his own life. Every time Carter walked past with that smug look, nodding at executives who praised his AI breakthrough, Aaron had to bite his tongue until it bled. But bitterness was a poor long-term strategy. Aaron knew that. He had seen too many talented people in tech crumble because of resentment. So he started planning. He didn't quit. Not yet. He wanted time to prepare. And more importantly, he wanted to build something Carter could never touch. Late nights turned into early mornings. Aaron coded from his tiny studio flat, lit only by the glow of 2 monitors and a dying lamp. This time, the idea wasn't just a smarter AI protocol. It was a full-scale platform. Modular, scalable, self-learning. He called it CentraCore. It would not only detect threats, it would rebuild its own architecture in real time to defend against evolving cyber attacks. And this time, he didn't store anything on the Carter Tech servers. Aaron encrypted every file, stored backups on private cloud nodes, and created decoy folders in case anyone tried to snoop. He had learned his lesson. What Carter stole was brilliant, but this was beyond brilliance. This was bulletproof. A month later, he handed in his resignation. Carter barely looked up from his desk. "Off to chase dreams, are you?" he said with a dry laugh. "Well, good luck, Wells. The real world's not as forgiving as theory." Aaron smiled faintly. "I know. But I also know the real world rewards those who build it, not those who steal from it." Carter blinked, confused, but Aaron had already walked out, his letter on the desk. The next year was a blur of sweat, rejection, and quiet wins. Investors didn't get it at first. They wanted simple apps, social gimmicks, not deep cybersecurity. But then came the breach. A national bank's internal system collapsed. Millions of users were at risk. Aaron offered a prototype of CentraCore as a fix. It worked. Within hours, the breach was contained. Suddenly, everyone wanted CentraCore. Contracts flooded in. Within 8 months, Aaron had scaled his team, rented a proper office in central Birmingham, and had clients across Europe. Every investor who once ignored him now scrambled for a piece of his company. But Aaron hadn't forgotten. He read every press release Carter Tech put out, watched how Carter tried to stay relevant by pushing half-baked products that mimicked his original idea. Carter was bleeding credibility. Then, one cold Monday morning, an email landed in Aaron's inbox. Subject line: Request for merger discussion. Carter Tech Limited. He stared at the screen for a long time. The sender? Harold Carter. Attached was a proposal. A merger. With Carter as the representative of the struggling parent company. Aaron scrolled to the end. We believe your leadership could revitalize both our futures. His hand hovered over the reply button. But he wasn't going to reply. Not yet. The boardroom at Centricore was nothing like the glossy panels and ego-driven architecture of Carter Tech. It was simpler. Clean steel lines, oak-finished walls, glass partitions, and smart displays pulsing gently with live security metrics. But today, it buzzed with something else. Anticipation. Aaron had sent his reply 2 days ago. It wasn't a rejection. It wasn't an acceptance either. It was an invitation. Let's discuss this face to face. Come to my office. Carter arrived wearing a suit too sharp for his reputation, flanked by 2 former Carter Tech execs who now operated more like lawyers than visionaries. They stepped into the room like they owned it. But they didn't. Aaron greeted them with polite coldness. Take a seat, he said, gesturing to the chairs on the far side of the table. His side now. His team sat with quiet confidence, eyes on Carter, not a single hint of intimidation. Carter cleared his throat. Aaron, we appreciate the opportunity to meet. We've admired what you've built. Centricore has made a real impact. Flattery's not currency here, Aaron replied flatly. Let's talk numbers. They did. Carter outlined the supposed benefits of merging their 2 firms, citing legacy clients, brand recognition, and global reach. But every point Carter made, Aaron's CFO, Priya, countered with facts. Our growth rate is double yours. Our retention is 92%. Your legacy clients are jumping ship. And your global reach. Priya smiled. We've overtaken you in 3 of your 5 key markets. Carter's smile faltered. Aaron leaned forward. Let's drop the pretense. This isn't a merger. It's a rescue request. You want a lifeboat, and you thought you could charm your way into the captain's seat. Carter's voice turned brittle. We were partners once, Aaron. We built Carter Tech together. No, Aaron replied quietly. I built it. You put your name on it. A long silence followed. Then, Aaron tapped the folder in front of him. Here's what I'm offering. A full acquisition. Centricore absorbs Carter Tech. You step down. Permanently. Your senior staff? Evaluated case by case. Those who've contributed stay. You, Harold, will take on a non-executive role. Carter's jaw tensed. A non-executive role? You want me to be your advisor? No, Aaron said. I want you to be my employee. Junior consultant. Fixed contract. 6-month review. Carter looked as if he'd been punched. You're humiliating me. No, Aaron said calmly. You did that to yourself years ago. I'm just giving the world context. Carter stood up. You can't expect me to accept this. Aaron tilted his head. You walked in here with a proposal because you're desperate. So let me be clear. This is not revenge. This is structure. This is what fairness looks like when the truth is allowed to speak. Carter stared at him, fury and disbelief mixing behind his eyes. He walked out, his lackeys in tow. Aaron let him go. 2 weeks passed. Silence. Then, one rainy Thursday morning, a message arrived from Priya. Subject line. He signed it. Aaron opened the attachment. Carter's signature. Terms accepted. He closed his laptop, leaned back, and stared at the ceiling for a long time. The man who had stolen his dreams now needed his permission to walk into a room. The Monday Carter walked in, the entire Centricore floor paused. It wasn't scripted or staged. People just stopped. There he was, Harold Carter, once the face of Carter Tech, the name on the building, the icon on magazine covers. Now, standing uncomfortably in the lobby of a company he didn't own, didn't lead, and didn't even fully understand. Aaron was already in his office. He hadn't arranged a welcome. No speech. No red carpet. Just a simple instruction to HR, treat him like any other consultant. That instruction was followed to the letter. His badge read, H. Carter, Junior Consultant. No special access. No corner office. He was escorted to a modest glass cubicle 2 rows from the pantry. Someone said he looked like a substitute teacher who'd wandered into the wrong school. Aaron didn't speak to him that day. Nor the next. It wasn't pettiness. It was discipline. Centricore thrived because it followed structure, not emotion. And Carter needed to learn that. But behind the scenes, tension crackled. Some employees whispered in corridors, others cast glances as they passed his cubicle. One young intern asked, "Wait, is that Harold Carter? Like, the one from the lawsuits?" By Wednesday, Carter had begun to realize what exile felt like. He was given data analysis tasks far beneath his old title. Required to attend team meetings where his ideas were voted on like anyone else's, and often rejected. Once, he tried to pull rank in a discussion. The team lead replied, "Respectfully, Mr. Carter, we value input. But titles don't replace merit here." Aaron observed it all through reports and hallway glances. He wasn't cruel, but he didn't intervene either. Then, on Thursday, Carter did something unexpected. He knocked on Aaron's door. Aaron looked up. "Yes." Carter stepped in, holding a project binder. "I've noticed inconsistencies in the reporting structure from Q3. There's a way to streamline it using legacy tools from Carter Tech's early systems. I thought, maybe it's useful." Aaron said nothing for a beat. Then, "Leave it on the table." Carter nodded. But as he turned to leave, he paused. "This is hard for me, Aaron." Aaron leaned back. "Good. Growth usually is." That night, Aaron stayed late. He opened the binder Carter had left. It was good. Too good. The framework outlined inside was efficient, practical, and showed signs of deep operational experience. For a moment, Aaron felt a flicker of what had once made Carter a formidable partner, before ego poisoned everything. The next morning, Priya walked in as Aaron stared at the opened file. "You're thinking it too, aren't you?" she asked. Aaron sighed. He might still be dangerous. But he's also still sharp. Priya frowned. "You gave him a role to humble him, not to rebuild him." "I know," Aaron said. "But sometimes, rebirth is more dangerous than revenge." At that moment, Aaron's assistant knocked. "Sir, we've found something. It's about Carter's old contracts. You'll want to see this." Aaron stood slowly. Some ghosts don't stay buried. The folder Aaron held looked ordinary. Manila, slightly worn at the edges, with a paperclip holding together 3 stapled documents and an old Carter Tech letterhead. But inside was a clause, one that had slipped past lawyers, accountants, and perhaps even Carter himself. As Aaron scanned the text, his eyes narrowed. This clause. This was part of the joint venture dissolution contract 5 years ago? Priya nodded grimly. Yes. It was filed in a quiet amendment. At the time, we were all distracted by the boardroom split. Aaron tapped the section. It detailed a fallback clause. If Carter Tech ever collapsed or merged, and if Harold Carter accepted a paid role in any rival enterprise within 5 years, he forfeited all intellectual property royalties and deferred bonuses. That meant the moment Harold stepped into Centricore's building and accepted the consultant role, he'd unknowingly voided millions in rights. He signed away his empire for a badge and a cubicle, Priya said softly. Aaron stood still, torn between satisfaction and concern. This wasn't part of any revenge plan. He'd genuinely forgotten the clause existed. But Carter hadn't read his own past well enough. He'd walked right into a legal trap laid by his former self. For 3 days, Aaron said nothing. Carter worked diligently, unaware of the financial guillotine hovering above his head. He contributed to reports, provided feedback, and even received cautious praise from the teams. The bitterness in his tone softened. On Friday, he knocked again. Aaron looked up from his screen. Yes. Carter stepped inside, more confident this time. I wanted to talk about long-term roles. Aaron leaned back, cautious. Go on. I know where I failed before. I was arrogant. I took credit I didn't earn. But working here, seeing how you've built this, I realize how much I still have to learn. I'd like to stay. Contribute properly. It was an honest moment. Or at least, it sounded like one. Aaron studied him. You understand that staying here means letting go of the legacy of Carter Tech? I already have, Carter said. It's gone. This might be my second chance. Aaron looked at the man who once humiliated him, crushed him under pressure, and tossed him out like rubbish. And here he was, humble, broken, or pretending to be. Later that evening, Aaron opened his private vault files. Not company files. Personal ones. He pulled up a video clip. Grainy security footage from the Carter Tech archives, dated 7 years back. A younger Aaron being screamed at, berated in a glass office by Harold. A silent figure, Priya, watches from outside the room, her face pale. This wasn't about money anymore. It was about what came after power. The phone rang. It was the legal department. Mr. Layton, the voice said. We've run a secondary search. Carter may have one more hidden clause protecting his severance if he can prove coercion. If he argues his hiring was a setup, he might sue. Aaron's hand tightened around the phone. What began as justice could turn into liability. And then, the email came. From an anonymous account. Subject line, "You're not the only one digging." Inside was a single image. Carter, last week, leaving a restaurant with someone very familiar. Victor Langley. The man who once tried to take down Aaron. The image haunted Aaron. Victor Langley, disgraced former CFO, the architect of the Carter Tech financial collapse, and the very man Aaron helped expose, was back. Worse, he was having dinner with Harold Carter. Aaron had always suspected that the Carter Tech downfall wasn't entirely Harold's doing. Langley had manipulated numbers, falsified profits, and redirected funds. Harold had turned a blind eye, or perhaps, been complicit. But now, the old ghosts were stirring again. Priya's voice cut through Aaron's thoughts. We should act before they do. Aaron turned to her. How do we know Langley isn't working for someone else? We don't, she replied. But if Carter's aligned himself with Langley, they're not here to reform. They're here to reclaim. The implication was clear. Langley could be attempting to pull off a hostile takeover through Carter. Or worse, use Aaron's own company as a platform to clear his name and re-establish financial credibility. Aaron initiated a deep forensic audit. Not just of Centricor's finances, but of every department Carter had touched since his arrival. IT, legal, R&D. Nothing was spared. The results were unsettling. Minor changes in security protocols. New vendor partnerships that bypassed standard checks. A curious pattern in file access logs showing late-night downloads. Carter wasn't stealing yet, but he was mapping the system. On the outside, Harold Carter seemed cooperative and reformed. On the inside, he was laying groundwork. The final straw came when a subcontractor flagged an invoice, authorized by Carter, for consulting services rendered by a firm under a shell company. That company, upon closer inspection, had links to an offshore account used by Langley years ago. Aaron had seen enough. He summoned Carter to the executive boardroom late in the evening, long after the offices had emptied. Harold entered, a folder in hand, still wearing his company ID like a badge of honor. You wanted to see me? Aaron didn't stand. He simply gestured to the chair across the long table. Sit. Carter took the seat slowly, watching Aaron with a cautious gaze. This about the merger report? Aaron didn't reply immediately. He slid across a printout of the invoice, the forensic log, and the image of him with Langley. Carter froze. His face didn't change. No denial, no outrage. Just stillness. Finally he spoke. So, you've been watching me. I had to, Aaron said. You left me no choice. Carter looked down at the papers. Victor approached me first. He said there was a way to get back what we lost. He said you were vulnerable. That the board was divided. Aaron raised an eyebrow. You believed him? Carter laughed. But it was hollow. I didn't want to. But you must understand, everything I built was taken from me. And when I walked in here, saw how clean everything was. How respected you were. I knew you'd beaten me. Aaron stood now, his voice calm but firm. Then why try to destroy it again? Carter clenched his fists. Because it hurts less to ruin something than to watch it thrive without you. A silence hung between them. Then Carter added, Langley's not finished. He's got files. Blackmail. On your investors. On your board. That hit home. Aaron leaned in. You're going to give me everything. Every contact. Every file. Every plan. Or I swear this time, you'll fall and there won't be a safety net waiting. Carter stared at him, defeated, but then something flickered in his eyes. A smirk. You think Langley gave me the whole plan? Aaron's heart sank. Carter rose, leaving the folder behind. Check your systems, he said at the door. Langley's already inside. And with that he walked out, leaving Aaron alone in a room suddenly filled with dread. Aaron didn't sleep that night. Langley was already inside the system. That phrase echoed in his mind like a warning siren. Every second that passed could mean another file compromised, another investor manipulated, another security door left wide open. By 3 a.m., Aaron had the entire IT division gathered remotely. His CTO, Marlon, ran diagnostic sweeps across their networks while Aaron watched the screen, heart pounding with every detection ping. At first, nothing surfaced. Then Marlon found it. Aaron, he said slowly, we've got a script buried in the compliance folder. It's disguised as a log archive, but it's not. Aaron leaned in. What is it? Marlon's tone turned grave. It's a Trojan. Designed to simulate financial errors and report them to an external IP. Every time we generate internal audit reports, it sends fake numbers, showing you're funneling money out. Aaron's blood went cold. Langley's plan was brilliant. Subtle. The data looked real. The reports would eventually reach the board, prompting an emergency meeting. If they believed Aaron was embezzling funds, they'd be forced to suspend him, at least temporarily. Enough time for Langley and Carter to swoop in. How long has it been active? Marlon checked the timestamps. 10 days. Right after Harold approved the security patch update. So Carter had planted it. Or at the very least, cleared the path. Aaron asked one question. Can we reverse it? Marlon nodded. Yes. But if we do it now, Langley will know we found it. He might accelerate whatever he's planning next. Aaron paused. He needed proof. Conclusive. Indisputable. He needed Langley to make the next move. But on Aaron's terms. Leave the Trojan intact, he said. But reroute the data. I want to see where it's going. And when it tries to transmit next, let it, but trace the line. It was a dangerous move. He was letting the virus live, but under a leash. The next 24 hours were tense. Aaron didn't leave his office. His team worked shifts in silence, monitoring every packet of data, every login attempt, every line of code. At 4:13 p.m. the next day, the Trojan activated again. A decoy audit file was leaked. But this time, the signal bounced off a proxy server in Luxembourg, then another in Malaysia, and finally landed on a personal laptop registered to a Mr. Victor Langley, operating out of a leased flat in Manchester. Aaron finally had him. He assembled a shadow board meeting that night. No assistants, no lawyers, no Carter. Just the loyal few who had helped build Centricore from the ground up. When he laid out the evidence, digital fingerprints, location tags, file histories, the reaction was silent, stunned. Finally, one board member whispered, "But this could take weeks to prosecute." Aaron looked up. "We don't need prosecution. We need leverage." And that's when Priya spoke. "What if we use their plan against them?" Aaron blinked. "Explain." She smiled coldly. "They wanted to stage a scandal and take control of the company. What if we let the scandal happen, but direct it back at them?" The room went quiet. She continued, "We leaked just enough data to make it look like Langley and Carter are trying to reclaim the company using blackmail and fraud. Then, we show we've rescued the company by exposing it. The board won't just remove them, they'll trust you more than ever." It was risky. Dangerous. But it was also poetic. Aaron nodded. "Let's give them their scandal." The next morning, Centricore's internal security issued a confidential alert. Potential unauthorized access detected. Financial discrepancies under investigation. It was vague, deliberately so. Langley, watching from the shadows, took the bait. He made contact. Through a masked email server, a message arrived. We need to talk. Your house of cards is falling. Meet me alone. 9 p.m. The old Carter Tech HQ. Aaron stared at the screen. The hunter was ready to meet his prey. The old Carter Tech headquarters was a shell of its former self. Broken windows, rusting signage, the eerie echo of footsteps on concrete. It was poetic, in a way. Langley choosing the ruins of his last empire to confront the man who now stood in the seat he once coveted. Aaron arrived 5 minutes early, dressed in a simple black coat. No entourage. No recording devices. At least none that Langley could see. The building was quiet, save for the faint hum of city life outside. Then a voice rang from the shadows. You should have stayed in marketing, Aaron. Langley emerged from the dark, wearing the same smug grin he'd worn years ago, when he was the rising star and Aaron, the disposable intern. But tonight, the roles had flipped. Aaron didn't flinch. And you should have stayed retired. Langley smirked. You've got guts. I'll give you that. He pulled a phone from his coat pocket and waved it. This contains everything. Your manipulated audits. The security breach. I leak this and you're finished. Aaron tilted his head. Finished? Or exposed? Langley raised a brow. Aaron continued, calm and deliberate. You should know something about this place. It's not just symbolic. It's functional. He stepped to the side. Click. A beam of red light blinked from the wall. Langley's phone buzzed. Then rang. Then went dark. Aaron spoke again. This building has legacy security. We reactivated it last night. That phone you're holding? It just uploaded everything to our forensic servers. Langley's face paled. You see, Aaron said, walking closer. You were never in control. You thought you were setting the stage for my fall. But really, you've been walking into a trap of your own making. Langley lunged, fury flashing across his face. But Aaron was faster. Security lights flared on. A door slammed open. 2 figures stepped in, Priya and a private investigator from Centricore's internal team, both holding legal documents. Victor Langley, the investigator said firmly, you are hereby served with a cease and desist. You are under investigation for corporate espionage, financial fraud, and conspiracy to defame. Langley laughed. Shaky. Bitter. You think this will stop me? You think you've won? Aaron finally allowed himself a smile. I don't think I've won, Victor. I know I have. Langley screamed as they dragged him out. You're nothing without your board. You'll crumble the first time profits dip. Aaron watched him go. And said quietly, then I'll rise again. Just like I always have. 2 months later, Carter was forced to resign. His stake was quietly bought out by the board under Aaron's direction. The shares were redistributed, ensuring no one could ever manipulate the balance again. Aaron's leadership was no longer questioned. Investors who had once doubted him now sought his approval. Clients returned. Profits rebounded. Centricore's reputation soared. One afternoon, as Aaron reviewed a new initiative on sustainable tech, he received a visitor. It was Harold Carter. But not the arrogant version from before. This Harold was smaller. Quieter. He extended a letter of apology. No strings, no excuses. Just regret. Aaron read it silently, then looked up. I can't promise forgiveness, he said. But I can promise I won't become what you were. Harold nodded once, then left. Aaron turned back to his desk. The storm had passed. But the fire within him remained. Not of revenge, but of purpose. Of building something greater than any one man's ambition. Of leading, not because others doubted he could, but because he knew he must.